to the Fly Nubian Queen Network, the network for melanated women like you. And also thanks to the men who have decided to join us on today. So you are tuned in with Queen Amadai Shakur, and I'm here with your morning wake-up call. Okay, so let's go ahead and get ready to get into it. I'd like to remind everyone that if you're looking for gifts and apparel, please be sure to visit us at shopfnq.com. Also, if you have any business questions or ideas, please subscribe to flynubianbusiness.com. Subscribe to flynubianmoney.com if you have any questions about money, finances, or investments. Also, make sure you text Queens to 31996 for occasional notifications and alerts. Don't forget that you can also download our podcast and watch us on the go by simply going to iTunes and typing in the Fly Nubian Queen Network. Okay, hey Jawara, Grand Rising. Hey Leo. How are you all doing this lovely morning? Oh, hey Durans. Hey One Muscle Power, Kevin. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started, folks. Before I get into the main topic, I want to discuss how a black man was almost lynched on the 4th of July in Bloomington, Indiana, where he visited a lake with some of his friends. Now, they'd gone there to watch the lunar eclipse. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Hey, Sakamata, Aries, Stephen, Thea Grace, Julian. Okay, you guys are all in the digital building with the Fly Nubian Queen Network. All right, so let's get into it. Okay. Get a noose. Black man says he survived attempted lynching while camping in an Indiana forest. Now, an Indiana man claims that he survived an attempted lynching during a brutal attack while camping. Civil rights activist Vo Booker called 911 for help after the 4th of July assault, some of which was caught on video, but said state officials reportedly refused to arrest his alleged assailants. Do you hear this? Now, these people accosted this man and threatened to lynch him, and they pretty likely would have had his friends not stayed there and asked for him to be released, if you saw the video. But nevertheless, they refused to arrest these devils. White non-supremacy clearly on code. Okay. They say, he says, I don't want to recount this, but I was almost the victim of an attempted lynching, Booker posted on Facebook along with a video of the attack. He says, I don't want this to have to happen to me or anyone else. It hurts my soul and my pride, but there are multiple witnesses and it can't be hidden or avoided. Now, let me tell you something. I have told you all before numerous of times how whenever a white piece of trash racist, okay, because that's what they are, anytime they try to do a hate crime or they commit a hate crime on a black person, the police always try to cover that mess up. They always act as though it wasn't a hate crime. They never want to call it that. And they will almost all the time let the people go. Let's not forget, it was just maybe a week or so ago when the two white devils got on top of the parking deck in Louisville, Kentucky. Okay? They got on top of the parking deck with face paint on, with long rifles. One of them had a bipod on it. And they were up there. And the only reason they were noticed is because the helicopter police saw them and called SWAT. Now, they called SWAT because they thought they were black. You see, from the height, from the distance, because they had black paint on their face like they were going to war, dressed in all camouflage. Okay? Then when they get there and see it's white men, they don't take them to jail, even though they were clearly planning a mass shooting or an ambush. They simply confiscated their guns and said that they had to take them because they couldn't prove at the scene that they belonged to them. Here's the thing. If you have guns on your person and the police stop you and you cannot prove that those guns are yours, aren't you supposed to be arrested, held, or detained until such a time as that you can verify where the guns come from so that they will know that you didn't steal them? Okay? Make that make sense. So anyway, Booker said he and others plan to watch the lunar eclipse near the Cutright Recreation Area, when he and a friend encountered an apparently drunk white man wearing an oversized Confederate flag hat, who then followed them on an all-terrain vehicle and said they were on private property. He says, we relayed to him that we believe the organizers had received permission from the property owners to cross, but apologized and went onto our beautiful site just off of the water without any further incidents. When we arrived, we were told that the organizer of the event, hold on, I'm getting a pop-up for some reason. Okay. Okay. Hold on just a second. I don't know where these pop-ups are coming from. He said, we relayed to him that we believe the organizers had received permission from the property owners to cross, but we apologized and went onto our beautiful site just off the water without further incidents. When we arrived, we were told the event organizer, we told them of the encounter, and it was relayed that the individual wasn't the actual property that the organizer had told us to be on. The organizer apologized. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It says we were told that the individual wasn't the actual property owner, and the organizer apologized. Okay. Booker said he told the owners to avoid that area on their way to the site. But he said the man and his group blocked off the public beach with a boat and ATVs and claimed to own the land. He says when folks tried to cross, he yelled white power at them. Honestly, we thought it might just be one drunken individual with a Confederate hat that we had encountered earlier who might be instigating some conflicts. We decided to just walk back and attempt to simply have a conversation with some of the more sober seeming group and to see if we could smooth things over a bit. Now, in the video, the white man accuses Booker of starting the altercation. But Booker said he and his friends tried to leave after the group member became aggressive, and two of them attacked him from behind, and the others joined in after he was knocked to the ground. He says the five were able to easily overwhelm me, and they got me on the ground and dragged me, pinning my body against a tree as they began pounding on my head and ripping off some of my hair. You mean the police didn't arrest them after this? Clearly an assault. They ripped out my hair with several of them standing on top of my body, holding me down. They held me pinned and continued beating me for several minutes, seemingly before becoming more and more enraged as they kept trying to seriously injure me and failing. At one point during the attack, one of the men jumped on my neck. I could feel both his feet and his full body weight land hard against my neck. One of the men's teenage daughters started screaming for them to let go. But he said the men pinned his arms backward in a stated attempt to break them. Get a noose, one of the men said, according to Booker, and they allegedly used racial slurs throughout the attack. Some of the witness attracted by the girl's screams filmed the attack, and one witness later told Booker all of their lives were in danger. The men eventually let Booker go, and he and his friends packed up their campsite and left in fear for their safety. Booker said he suffered a minor concussion, abrasions, and bruising, and he had some hair ripped out in patches. He said the Indiana Department of Natural Resources refused to make any arrests after the incident, but the agency said the incident remains under investigation. Let me tell you something. That is such BS. A driver unintentionally struck two protesters. Oh, that's something else. Okay, listen. That is such BS. First of all, they're talking about this under investigation. Well, the part of the investigation would have started with them being arrested and detained and interrogated. So if they didn't do that, they're not investigating anything. That's the lie that they're telling, okay? They're not investing anything if they didn't arrest them. He wouldn't have he didn't have a weapon in the woods with those Neanderthals. First of all, he shouldn't have been in the woods with those Neanderthals. That's number one. And number two, he should have had a gun. Absolutely. All black people need to have guns at this point. I don't know why people are walking around here playing. You need to have a gun. If you don't have one, get one. If you're a felon, get one anyway. Because wouldn't you rather be judged by 12 and carried by 6? Please. I'm just saying. Now, I don't condone criminal activity, but you have to do what you have to do. Clearly, these people have lost their freaking minds. So that's just all crazy, okay? That is completely crazy. And this is, yet again, people, another example of how they don't care about black people and you don't get any type of justice. And when these white devils, these racist demons go out here and commit these atrocities on black people, attack you, assault you, or even kill you, white non-supremacist police will cover for them because they are all clearly on code. Okay? They are all clearly on code. Thanks for your contribution, Muscle Power. You're greatly appreciated. Also, thanks to whoever just gave that $10 donation. You are also appreciated. Sorry, I missed your name. Yes, this is so ridiculous. This is what happens. And you know what the sad thing is? I'm going to tell you what's the sad thing. These devils are on code and they stay on code. Pay attention. But I noticed that after, in fact, did their march Saturday, there were some black people online talking smack and hating. Black people. That's sad because your own black people, right? Instead of them joining in, instead of them going to get guns, getting guns and arming themselves to be able to defend themselves if under attack, they want to talk trash about other black people who are trying to do something positive. Now, that's what's sad. You see, for whatever reason, some of us just simply refuse to stay on code, to get on code, to follow suit with everyone else. This is ridiculous. But those will be the ones who find themselves in this type of predicament. Because how many times have I said, black people should know at this point in the game, the race war has already started. It is already in full effect. What are some people waiting for? Why are they still lagging behind? And why in the hell are they still going out here traveling by themselves to secluded areas with all white people, them being the only black? I'm just saying. And clearly the white friends were afraid. Now, they did stay there until he left, until they released him, because in the video, you hear the racist Confederate dude telling them to leave and they'll let the man go. And they're like, no, we're not leaving. At least they stayed. But they were fearful themselves because they said their lives were endangered also. So they're not going to fight for you or with you. At the end of the day, who does this? Coons. That's who. Okay? Coons are doing this. They are getting their nigger wake-up calls. I'm sorry, but it's true. This is what's happening. When you go off by a bunch of white people by yourself, don't expect for nothing bad not to happen. Because if the people you're with aren't devout racists, the ones you encounter will be. And what do the racist devils hate the most? Well, white people who deal with black people. So they'll kill them and you. So how does that make any sense for you to be in that predicament? And especially if you don't have sense enough to arm yourself. Have they not watched the news? Haven't they seen all of these black men swinging from trees and the devilish police lying, the Neanderthals in badges, in fact saying that they're suicides? Don't they see that people are still fighting for justice for people killed a couple of months ago? So this is just all so crazy. It makes no sense. I don't know what some people are thinking. I don't know what some people are thinking, but let me move on. Let me move on. Now, so in other news, stick with your own people at this point in time. Exactly. Exactly. Jawara says the coonage is clearly at a critical... Oh my goodness, Jawara says the coonage is clearly at a critical point. Yes, it is. Too many black people are getting into get out situations. Right. Didn't they learn their lesson? Oh my goodness. I cannot with the foolery. So anyway, let me go on to the next topic of discussion because clearly I digress. Okay. Now the judge presiding over Bill Cosby's trial had an alleged affair with a witness's colleague and failed to disclose this information to the defense. Bill Cosby approaching a retrial on charges alleging he sexually assaulted Andrea Constand at his at his Cheltenham home in 2004, is seeking to have the presiding judge replaced at a hearing tomorrow because the judge's wife has been an active supporter of sexual assault victims, according to an exclusive by Radar Online. New allegations have come to light that are serious enough to reasonably assume that it could have a range or a grave impact on Judge O'Neill's ability to be a fair and impartial jurist presiding over the trial. In the stunning story, it's claimed that Judge O'Neill had an affair with a young lawyer, former prosecutor, and now district judge named Maureen Coggins in 1998 and 1999. Now, this could play a major role in deciding whether or not Judge O'Neill could preside over the case, as Coggins worked under the former district attorney, Bruce Castor, who was called as a witness, but quickly was found to not be credible by Judge O'Neill. According to our source, Coggins, now serving as a magisterial district judge in Montgomery County, was allegedly under the false assumption that typically occurs in an affair that he'd leave his wife. Judge Stephen O'Neill failed to disclose this bias for the record to the defense, a bias that could play a critical part in the future proceedings. All the judges should be in prison. They all are in cahoots. Let Bill Cosby free, Malcolm. Let Bill Cosby free. Malcolm X demands it. They aren't thinking. No, clearly they aren't. Scum and garbage run the courts. Always have. Exactly. And that is why it is called the criminal justice system. Because it is literally run by the criminals. That's a fact. It was 1998. An underdog from the onset, Norristown defense attorney Stephen T. O'Neill announced he was putting his bid in for the office of Montgomery County District Attorney. His opponent, Bruce Castor, the former prosecutor, who declined to prosecute Cosby for the sexual assault allegations after publicly stating he found insufficient, credible, and admissible evidence exists upon which any charge against Mr. Cosby could be sustained beyond a reasonable doubt. And that is the truth. Now, obviously, that judge is on the up and up because there was no sufficient or credible evidence, okay? I mean, hey, Janice Dickerson even lied. One of the witnesses who testified said that she lied. She admitted to lying about his assaults on her. Let me continue. As the two were campaigning in 1998 and early 1999, the then married O'Neill was allegedly carrying on a love affair with Maureen Coggins, one of the assistant district attorneys under Castor's watch. And according to resources, O'Neill's wife left him as a result. They say there came a time during the campaign when O'Neill fell gravely ill with some kind of life-threatening infection. I think in his ear, said a source who was involved in the campaign. But while it was touch and go, he and his wife reconciled, though O'Neill had promised to divorce his wife and marry his younger woman. This really pissed off the girl in the district attorney's office who was in love with O'Neill. I still did not know any of this. The girl started showing up at political events where Castor and O'Neill were campaigning. O'Neill and Castor were preparing for a debate in Willow Grove in Upper Moreland Township, Pennsylvania, with Coggins there front and center wearing a Castor for DA pin. The debate took a toll on O'Neill, according to a source. They say, I thought the girl, Maureen Coggins was her name, was coming to support Castor, her boss. Or another source continued. Naturally, as the lawyers, both O'Neill and Castor were accomplished at speaking in public. But that night, while Castor was energized and fully conservant, O'Neill was absolutely terrible, nervous, sweating, stammering, no focus, just really bad. The Montgomery County Republican Party chairman Frank Bartle allegedly received a phone call from the current chair of Montgomery County Republican Party, Bill Donnelly, complaining about Castor playing dirty by putting Maureen in front of O'Neill to throw him off his game. That was when O'Neill's alleged affair came to light. While that campaign raged on in 1998 and early 1999, unbeknownst to me at first, The married O'Neal was carrying on a love affair with one of the DAs or one of the ADAs under Castor's command, much younger than him, and his wife had left him on that account. Now, according to sources, the candidates and a number of political figures and campaign staff gathered together in a parking lot as they were leaving. Among the crowd stood Frank Bartle, the chairman of the Montgomery County Republican Party, and state representative Bob Godshall, who has been in office for more than 3 decades and is set to retire in November. Godshall, who according to our source knew nothing of the affair, walked up to O'Neal in front of a dozen or more people and shook his hand. Godshall then turned to O'Neal's wife and asked, "Is this your wife?" Will O'Neal goes ballistic and yelling and screaming at Godshall that Godshall knows very well who his wife is and was behind the vicious slander against his family. A well-placed source continued. Now the wife goes off too, and there is this shouting tirade by the two of them while onlookers gathered. Godshall was totally taken aback, and he was truly ignorant of the whole thing. Now see, that was just his paranoia, because he knew he was in the wrong. First of all, he's out here cheating on his wife, so he obviously, once he saw the woman there, the side piece, he obviously thought everyone knew because he was so paranoid. So a person innocently comes up to him and asks, "Is this your wife?" And they both go ballistic on the poor man who had no clue whatsoever. He just told on himself. Now, according to a source, O'Neal became the laughingstock of the political and legal community, as nobody believed Godshall was behind the gossip about the affair about O'Neal's wife leaving him. The person responsible was the girl herself, who was single and was in love with a man who said he would divorce his wife to marry her. It really took a toll on O'Neal emotionally, but also on his business as an attorney. People didn't want the laughingstock of the county bar as their attorney, so he began to suffer financially as well. At this point, the damage to O'Neal was done. He lost the election shortly thereafter and made up for it in 2002 when he was appointed to the bench in April by the then governor, Mark S. Schweiker, as a judge for the Montgomery County Court. Now, District Attorney Kevin R. Steele argued in court papers filed last week that the opinion of his one-time political rival and former district attorney Bruce L. Castor Jr. is not relevant and should not be presented to the jury by the defense team for Cosby's retrial, which begins next week, stating that it's barred as a matter of law. He says any reference during the trial to the 2015 campaign for district attorney of Montgomery County Court for the instant prosecution would be completely irrelevant and offered by the defendant strictly for the purpose of to issue confusion, misleading the jury, and to delay. This is what Steele wrote in a motion. Also, Steele states that any reference to political motivation behind the prosecution would be irrelevant, citing Commonwealth versus Thompson, a case that sought to question a police officer about monetary compensation that he received for testifying in the form of wages or overtime. Now, he says the defendant has repeatedly alleged that the undersigned promised prosecution and that the motivation for the charges in this case were precipitated by the campaign. Beyond being untrue, these statements and any testimony that affect would be irrelevant, inadmissible, and simply an attempt by the defense to distract from the powerful evidence against Bill Cosby in this case. He says, "This is my first time hearing of these alleged accounts regarding Judge O'Neal. The story is very interesting if true, but also very disturbing," Bill Cosby's spokesperson, Andrew Wyatt, told YC in a comment. He said, "Furthermore, Mr. Cosby maintains that he's innocent of all of these charges." Okay. So I don't know if they're going to allow him to preside over the case. Likely they are not going to, because that's clearly a conflict of interest. But here's the thing. I find it so crazy that, well, it's a good thing they've granted Cosby a retrial, but I find it so crazy that this thing even went as far as it did when the witnesses were all clearly telling lies. Let's not forget, a couple of these women had actually used him as a reference, and they had taken money from him to pay for their college. Now, I'm sorry, but is that normal for someone who rapes you, sexually assaults you, to then give you money for college and for you to go and visit them 19 times, because one of them clearly visited him almost 20 times, according to records. And also the fact that they used him as a job reference. Okay? Who does that? How does it make sense? The whole Cosby trial was a sham. Hopefully he'll get out. Yes, it was a sham. And the nerve of them to go after Cosby before they went after Weinstein. Here's another thing too. There was a black model who said that in 1985, I think it was, that white men called her. She wouldn't give their names, but she said they called her to a meeting and asked her to get some evidence from Cosby, right? So they could frame him. And they offered her $5,000. They asked her to get like in a sexual relationship with him and get evidence of it so they could, have it against him. And they offered her $5,000. She refused, and they called her the next day, and she said that time they offered her 10, and she refused to do it. So clearly they have been going after Cosby for a while. Cosby's in jail regulating. CeeLo Green gave a woman pills, and he didn't go to prison. He just lost endorsements. Yes, I remember hearing about that. I do remember hearing about that now that you mention it. We'll deal with symbolisms after we get our tangibles. Cut the check. No, hashtag no anti-black racism. You're absolutely right, Juwabra. Where are those checks? Where are they? That's what I would like to know. Okay? But they don't want to give us our reparations, as we've said before. Right? But anyway, listen. Did you all hear about the white woman who ran over the 3 black people? There was 3 black women walking down the street, and this racist devil runs them over with her van. Now, I just love how the police just kindly sat her on the side of the road, okay? And didn't get loud with her, weren't forceful or anything. Just politely sat her on the side of the road. A distraction from the real sexual abuse. Absolutely. This is what it always is. You see, here's the thing. By getting Bill Cosby and going after R. Kelly, which they could have clearly gone after R. Kelly 20 years ago because everybody already knew what he was doing, but they didn't care. They didn't care back then. And let me tell you something else that they don't put in the media, right? One of those girls that R. Kelly was messing with was white. Did you all know that? Very likely why they decided to go after him after all this time. Because all these years when R. Kelly was having these rumors and the videotape and all that stuff came out, afterwards, they were not thinking about R. Kelly. They knew what he was doing, clearly. But as long as the girls and the victims were black, they didn't care. But when that white girl from Florida, who I believe she was 18 by the time she told it, but her and her mom were practically complicit in it, as far as I'm concerned, because there's pictures of her mom in R. Kelly's jacuzzi. Okay? So her mother was pimping her out. But as soon as that story came out about that white girl, because they say R. Kelly gave her herpes, allegedly, when that came out, all of a sudden, that's when they want to go after R. Kelly. But it was okay when he was doing it to black girls. That was okay. That was fine. But as soon as Becky got involved, now they want to call foul. This is what they do. This is what they do. Okay? Anyway, there was an incident where a black woman got into a confrontation with a white guy in Louisville, Kentucky. Days ago. They got into an argument. Some of you may have seen the video. They got into an argument, and the white guy attacks her. I'm talking about he's fighting her like she is a man. Okay? This was all so crazy. And then a black guy jumped in it and beat the crap out of him. Swirlers deserve what they get. Oh, she wasn't swirling. She wasn't swirling. She didn't know this guy, I don't think. They were in a public building, and it was the white guy and his girlfriend. I think initially the girlfriend got into the confrontation with the black woman, and so they all started arguing, right? And so when the black woman left and went in another part of the building, the white guy came out there, and then words were exchanged, and he just attacked her. But he wasn't expecting a black man to come to her defense, and he was beaten to the ground, okay? That's what happened, and that's what needs to happen every time one of those devils touches a black woman. See, they have gotten all too comfortable, all too complacent, putting their hands on black women. That's what they've done. Now, it all started with that guy down there in Texas, that racist devil in Dallas. Remember when he beat that black woman all in her face over a parking space? And then the police charged him with misdemeanors, not a hate crime, not a felony, but they had the nerve to charge the black woman with a felony because she busted out his truck window because she was ticked off because he attacked her. Yeah, they charged her with a felony, but not him. It was only after everybody got in the uproar and people in the town protested and all that stuff that they finally arrested him and charged him with a felony. This is what they do. And they still didn't call it a hate crime because they're not going to call it that. When clearly, when someone's attacking you, they're white, you're black, and they're screaming racist slurs, they're attacking you for no reason or little to no reason, that's a hate crime. Please, I'm going to tell you like this. You let somebody attack a gay person, right? You let somebody attack a white member of LGBTQ, it could be for any reason. They got into an argument, just whatever. They will label that a hate crime, and that's what they will charge you with. If you are black, that is what they will do. I promise you, that is what they will do. And then speaking of LGBTQ, there was a video posted on Twitter, and there was a black man standing outside with a sign. He was outside holding a sign, and he kept saying that he was a gay white woman, right? He was a white lesbian. So a white member of LGBTQ comes up and confronts him, and they start having words going back and forth. And so she's telling him, how are you? Or he's the person, I can't tell if it's a man or a woman because you don't see them, you just hear a voice. And they were gay, so I can tell if they were a man or a woman, okay? Clearly. But anyway, they were talking to the man and telling him, how are you going to be a bigot and you're black? Oh, I know what it was. His sign said, marriage is one man and one woman. So the gay person walks up and says, so you think gay people shouldn't get married? And he said, marriage is one man and one woman. So the gay person asked him, how are you black and you're a bigot? He says, I'm not black. I'm white. I'm a white lesbian. And so the gay person tells him, you're not a white lesbian, you're black. He says, no, if a boy can be a girl and a girl can be a boy, I can be a white lesbian. Oh, so you're just going to refuse to address me as such? It was so hilarious because he clearly was giving them a taste of their own medicine. Okay? He was telling them exactly what they tell us. All right? That's what they do to us. Now, if you don't call them a woman, even if they're a man with makeup on or whatever, and you don't call them a woman, they get upset and offended. So I don't see why they're mad because he was saying that he's a white lesbian. That's what he identifies as, right? He can identify as a white lesbian. I mean, hey, if a man can identify as a woman and a woman can identify as a man, he should be able to also identify as a white woman who's gay. That's his prerogative. It's fair. I don't get it. What's the problem, people? I don't get it. And here's Duel's laughing. And here's the thing. Another case, there was a white man who was a pedophile. Now listen to this. You're going to love it. I promise you. There was another case where a white man in his 40s, late 40s, early 50s, he was arrested for sexually assaulting a child. When he got into the courtroom, do you know what he said? He told them he was not guilty because he's not a pedophile, because he's in love with a child, because he himself is a child. He said he identifies legally as an 8-year-old white girl. So he says, how is that pedophilia? Yes, this grown man, almost 50 years old, a white man, said that he did not molest that child or sexually assault them because he's a kid himself. He identifies as an 8-year-old girl. See how ridiculous this all is? Are you getting the picture? You see how dangerous and how crazy this is when you just let people say they are whoever and whatever they want to be? I'm just saying. These are the things that happen. Pedophiles walk into courts and say they're not pedophiles because, hey, I'm a 5-year-old. These are the things they can do. Think about it. I don't know how the case turned out, but I'm going to look it up because I'm dying to know. Said he was an 8-year-old white girl. Yes, that's what he said. Meanwhile, the black man says he's a white lesbian, so hey. Right, Kirk. Absolutely right. Get the white coats. NAMBLA. Absolutely. Open 642. Yes. National Association of Man-Boy Love. Or National... Yeah, I think that's what it stands for. National Association of Man-Boy Love. Something like that. Yes, I've heard of it. Clearly, it condones pedophilia. And I told you all just yesterday about that disgusting YouTuber who said that children were sexy. Naked babies were sexy. A little 6-year-old girl who was a cheerleader was sexy. What kind of sick stuff is that? But his page is still online. His channel is still online for all to see. Okay? He's not shadow banned like some of us who talk about pro-black things. I'm just saying. He's not shadow banned. Yeah, his page is still there. Does anyone have to wonder why the world is being destroyed? I think not. Clearly, Sodom and Gomorrah mixed with Babylon. Okay? Clearly, this is what we're living in. Pederasty legalized. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. They are trying to legalize it, whether you know or not, right? With that bill HR 5. Also, they have this woman who's going around campaigning, this white woman. She's been going around campaigning. She's supposed to be some type of psychologist. And she's going around trying to convince people that pedophilia is not a crime. Yes, that's what she said. She said pedophilia is not a crime. And that, in fact, it is a sexual orientation. This is what she's been promoting. This is what the devils are promoting. And there's one woman who is a politician. I can't remember her name, but I did a video on her months ago on Facebook. She is basically saying that they want to lower the age of consent to 10 years old. 10 years old, people, opening up the gateway for legalizing pedophilia. That's all it is. How can a 10-year-old make a decision to have sex? Okay? Please. A 10-year-old doesn't even know what they want to eat for breakfast or dinner. This is all so ridiculous. And let's not forget the school in Texas who changed the sex education curriculum to include showing children how to put condoms on a cucumber for anal sex. I'm just saying, this is what they're doing down there in Texas, people. Pay attention. You should be really involved in your children's school education if they're at a public school these days. Because these are the things they're teaching. Clearly trying to indoctrinate people's children. This is what they're doing. They ain't playing, y'all. They're dead ass wrong. Yeah, exactly. They are wrong for this because my thing is this. If you choose your sexual preference, that's fine. Everyone should be able to do so. But children should not be knowing anything about sexual preferences when they're in elementary school, okay? Whether it's heterosexual or homosexual, they should not be knowing about sex at all in elementary. It should not be a topic of discussion, okay? Other than for you to teach them as a parent that if someone touches them inappropriately or in the wrong place, that they need to report it or tell. That's the only thing that should be discussed pertaining to that. But not all of this other stuff. Showing them how to put condoms on cucumbers. This is all clearly sick, all demented and deranged, and it's all just going too far. Okay? That's what it is. No, they don't need to be taught that in schools. They absolutely do not. Yes, Michael, they absolutely are. Yes, it is also sick. Okay? The thing is this. People should not be out here pushing their agenda on other people. But let me remind you of something that I have said before. There is documented evidence that Henry Kissinger in 1974 drew up this little plan where he claimed that he wanted to depopulate the black people, right? He wanted to depopulate the black community by ushering in homosexuality. So they would do these things to purposely make black people turn gay. So they want to start with children. Because if they start with children, you know what I'm saying? Once they get them indoctrinated young, then they'll be more prone to be gay. This is what they're hoping for. And let's not forget how they're putting the atrazine in food and water. If you didn't know, look it up. They're putting atrazine in food and water. Okay? A black scientist already blew the whistle. This is what they've been doing. They first tested it on frogs and fish. And in most of the cases, the fish and the frogs developed the opposite sex genitalia and all of that stuff, and started having a desire to have sex with the same sex fish and frogs. This is all true. Crazy though it may seem. This is what they are doing. Atrazine, you want me to spell it? It's Atrazine. 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 Look it up. Yes, this is what they have been doing for a while. And I also heard, by the way, for those of you who smoke, I also heard they were putting it in marijuana. Okay? I read that in an article. So anyway, with that all being said, family, I'm going to go ahead and close out this live. But this is all crazy stuff going on with these racist devils. Okay? Still attacking black people. The woman ran over 3 black women with her car. Likely she won't be charged for a hate crime. Likely she won't be charged with attempted murder, which is clearly what it was. Okay? An attempt to murder them. Right? But you can just tell by the way the officers on the scene, the way they conducted themselves, the way they were so nice and friendly with her and just sat her down on the curb ever so gently. You can just tell that there's not going to be any serious charges pressed. Okay? There's going to be something shady going on, just as it always is. And the fact that they didn't even arrest those devils at the lake in Bloomington, Indiana, who attacked that man. Thank you, Anthony, for your contribution. You are greatly appreciated. Peace and blessings to you. But Keisha says self-sufficiency, grow your own everything. Absolutely right. Absolutely. But the fact that they didn't arrest those devils at the lake who tried to lynch that man, and even if they didn't want to arrest them for that, shouldn't they have at least arrested them for beating him? For ripping out his hair? This is all so crazy. I'm telling you, when the police are behaving like this, why do we need the police again? Now, do they see why people want them defunded? All they do is go around and harass and brutalize black people and look for excuses and reasons to kill unarmed black people. They do not enforce any laws on white people unless they are persuaded or forced to. My question is, why do black people have to continuously fight for justice that everyone should be privy to? Black people have to fight for justice, but white people simply get it. Okay? This is all crazy. Yes, defund the police. And they need to go ahead. Yes, that's right. Defund the police. And they need to go ahead and cut the check. Can somebody put it in the chat? Hashtag cut the check. Why are they playing games? Give us our money so we can go get land and stay off to ourselves, separate from the devils, so they don't have to worry about us and be all up in our business, and we don't have to worry, think about, look, or even have anything to do with them. Okay? Cut the check. Thoughts are things, so be careful about chanting or wearing the words, I can't breathe. The subconscious mind does not know the difference, so be mindful. That is so true. That is very true what Dual just said. That's why I always say grand rising as in preference of, as opposed to saying good morning, okay? Mourning is what happens when somebody's dead. You mourn. So there is no good morning. Grand rising. Yes, words, we cast spells with words. That's why it's called spelling, people. Very true. And whatsoever a man thinketh, that's so he is. Remember that. Okay, that's right. Open 642. Cut the check. That's right, Nick Joe. Larry. Yes, absolutely. We need to shut this thing down. Everything stop. Voting. Exactly. Thanks, Seth Rich's Hero. Thank you for your contribution. You are greatly appreciated. Listen, we do need to stop voting. I'm not voting. I've said this numerous of times. Because here's the reason. If Biden is racist, which clearly he is, and he also is not only racist, he seems to think that we owe him our votes. Remember his little comments. If you don't know if you're voting for him or Trump, you ain't black. He thinks we owe him something. The Democrats clearly think we owe them something, but at the end of the day, they owe us. Have we not supported them as a collective for the past 50 years, and all they fed us are nothing burgers full with mayo? This is all they've done. Now, Trump, on the other hand, is equally as racist. So when they tell you things like, oh, vote for the lesser of two evils. No. I never choose evil, okay? I'm never choosing evil. So why would I vote for the lesser of the two? If they're both the devil and Satan, or Satan and Lucifer, why do I want anything to do with either of them? And at the end of the day, here's the thing. In fact, voting in the presidential election is nothing more than a waste of time. They're going to pick who they want to be president. It's a fact. The presidents are selected, not elected. That's why when you go out and vote, if you don't vote for the person they want to be the president, like if you don't overwhelmingly vote for that person, they will just simply tell you that the Electoral College chose that person. This is why the Electoral College was created, okay? We don't elect the president. It's just the illusion of inclusion. Now, in your local elections, yes, you should participate. But in the presidential election, they're not going to let the populace decide who's going to run this country. The elites are going to do that, as they've always done. All right? As I told you, if you don't believe it, go look up why the Electoral College was created. It was created so that they could always be in charge of who will be in that White House. Okay? And Obama was selected by David Geffen. All of the presidents are selected, not elected. And they want to keep you under the spell and brainwashed. This is why it is imperative for them to see you going out and voting in the presidential election. When you stop voting, when we as a people stop voting in the presidential election, then they will see that we have all waken up from the spell, no longer suffering from the cognitive dissonance and the brainwashing, okay? And no longer perpetuating their own agenda for them. Then they will see and they will know, oh, these black people are waking up to us. They're on to us, okay? Please. I'm not for the lesser of two evils. Exactly, Nick Joe. Exactly. So listen, people, if you're looking for any gifts or apparel, please be sure to visit us at shopfnq.com, okay, where we have lovely items for you to purchase. If you have any questions about starting a black-owned business or enhancing the business that you already have, please be sure to subscribe to flynubianbusiness.com, subscribe to flynubianmoney.com if you're trying to make more revenue for yourself, have questions about finances and investments and things of that nature. Also, text Queens to 31996 for occasional notifications and alerts. And download our podcast by going to iTunes and typing in the search Fly Nubian Queen Network so that you can watch us on the go. Okay? We are not citizens in America. Absolutely, we are not. We are not. Land's legislative change and money, point blank and period. Chicago radio Santa Jackson show is about a black girl power first station show. How can a black woman in Chicago find a good black man with black women shouting, we don't need black men? You know what? Let me tell you something, Otis. These black women saying that get on my last nerve. Do you hear me? I'm going to tell you where they get that crap from. They get that from the white feminists. Okay, who have ingrained that and embedded that in their brains, telling them you're a strong black woman, you don't need a man. Yeah, okay, so then they go around chanting this racist rhetoric, because that's all it is. It's just another way to keep the black man and woman separated. Okay, they've already taken the black man out of the house years ago when they gave black women Section 8 housing and said to them, you can't have anyone 18 or older, a male 18 or older, living in your home. Now, why would they care who lives in your damn home? Other than the fact that they're trying to take the man out so your children can run amok, right, and be raised by the streets when you're not around and turn out to be in gangs and things like that and more prone to go to prison when the fathers are not around. This is the case, right? So these are the reasons they do these things. And now these black women, they're going around saying, I'm a strong black woman, I don't need no man, but they sound so ridiculous. Because here's the thing, these same white feminist groups who indoctrinate them, do you ever hear white women saying, I'm a strong white woman, I don't need no man? No, you don't, nor will you ever, because you see, white women are the backbone of white non-supremacy. Yes, whatever their men are doing, they have their backs, okay? They are the ones who lead the way for the white non-supremacists. That's who they are. But sadly, some black women have gotten to the point where they are listening to these feminist groups because for some reason, the white women have convinced them that black men see them as inferior, when really, in actuality, it's the opposite. It is the white men who view their women as inferior. Remember, they wouldn't let them work certain jobs back in the day. They wouldn't give them equal pay. And so they form feminist groups for their own benefit. Now, to make their numbers larger and to push their agenda further, they got the black women to get on board with it. Now, it was always ignorant to me for the black women to be on board because at the end of the day, black women and black men are both paid less than white women. Okay? So while the white women were complaining about making less than their men, their counterparts, okay, the black women and men were making less than them. So why in the world, and black men were not oppressing black women? It was the white men oppressing their own women who felt like they need to be at home barefoot and pregnant. That was their ideology, okay? Because many of them are male chauvinists, right? So with that all being said, how did black women get fooled, tricked, and bamboozled into joining these silly feminist groups who, by the way, are never there when something happens to a black woman? Where were they when all of this stuff was going on, you know, with the sexual assaults on black women, when the black women are coming up missing by the thousands, 65,000 black women missing and no one said a peep? You haven't seen it in the mainstream media. Where are all the feminist groups then? Where were they when Sandra Bland was killed? Where were they when the black woman in Dallas, Texas was beaten and assaulted by the racist demon? Where are they ever? Where are they now that Breonna Taylor is not getting any justice? Where are these feminist groups? But black women, foolishly, some of them, want to join them and support them? Please, miss me with all of it. It's such foolery. I'm Chris Norwood True. Where is the feminist movement for Breonna Taylor? Absolutely. That is the question that I have. Where is it? Where are they? I'll tell you where they are. Nowhere to be found. Because they don't care anything about black women. They don't care if black women have equal rights or equal pay. They don't care about any of that, okay? The only thing they care about is their own wicked agenda, and they often use black people to push it. Thank you so much, Otis, for your contribution. You are greatly appreciated. Peace and blessings to you. Yes, they often push these wicked agendas and they want us to get on board. This is what they do, people, and black people. As a collective, we have to stop helping them spew their own wicked narratives. Because here's the thing. I want you to pay attention. When a black person commits a crime, because I'm just trying to let you know, these people never have our backs, ever, okay, under any circumstances. Think about this. When a black person commits a crime, right, such as the black man who killed the man who sexually assaulted his daughter in a public restroom. He beat the man to death. Now, when he was arrested and they talked about it on the news, they showed his mug shots. But like I told you, when Chris Watts, a white man, killed his whole family, his pregnant wife and his 2 young daughters, they showed a family portrait of him, right? Here's another thing. The white woman who ran over those black women in the van the other day, they didn't show her face on the mainstream media. They blurred out her face. Oftentimes when white people commit these heinous atrocities, they blur out their faces. They don't tell their names. There was a white child who was like 11 years old, committed a crime, and when they brought him in and had him handcuffed, they blurred out his face. And you might say, well, oh, because he's a minor. Well, if that's the case, thank you, C. Thomas, for your contribution. You are greatly appreciated. Peace and blessings to you. So here's the thing. This white child, they blurred out his face. And now you may be thinking, well, he's a minor, right? But if that's the case, how come when a little 12-year-old black boy was arrested in Marietta, Georgia, for selling CDs at the mall, which he even wasn't even selling at the time, but this is what he was arrested for. They showed his face. He was a minor. They always show black children's faces, okay? When they are a minor, they don't care. But, because remember, they treat our children as though they're adults. But remember, when it's little white kids, they treat them so differently. Remember the little 10-year-old brute? The little white girl who killed that little baby, a 6-month-old baby, stomped it to death viciously. The little devil. That's what she did. But when they brought her into that courtroom, they blurred out her face. Okay? When the white racist mass shooters go on a rampage, they don't want to tell their names right away. They delete all of their information on social media, from the internet, anything they posted on 8chan and 4chan, they delete all of that stuff. Okay? To protect them. And then here's another thing. Pay attention to this. Now, when somebody commits an assault and the person is still on the loose and they're looking for this person, supposedly investigating it, right? Pay attention to what the mainstream media does. You can always tell it's a white person. I'm going to tell you how. Because if it's a black person, they'll say it's an African-American male, 6 foot tall or whatever, driving a red truck or whatever. They'll give you a full-on description. First thing they'll say is the person's race. But when it's a white person, they will never say their race. Pay attention. There was a man who attacked a little girl on a school bus stop maybe a year or so ago. A white man. Now, the little girl clearly gave a description of this man. You know what they said on the media, on the mainstream media? They said a bushy-haired man driving a white truck tried to abduct a 10-year-old from the bus stop. I promise you, this is what they said. A bushy-haired man? What kind of description is that? Aren't there lots of bushy-haired men? And when they say bushy hair, who do most people think of when they say bushy hair? Don't people usually think of a black person because black people have bushy hair? You may have an afro or something. Don't they usually think of a black person? So they're trying to insinuate it's a black person or make people think it was a black person. No, that man was white. Okay? The man was white. They don't want to say he was white. They just described him as a bushy-haired man. And then you have to ask yourself, if the little girl who was attacked saw his face, I mean, if he attacked her, she clearly saw his face, right? And if she knew enough and gave enough description that he had bushy hair, clearly if she saw his hair, she saw his face. He had on no mask. So these are the things they do. Pay attention. They think they are so slick. They love to demonize us in the media, but make themselves look like angels as though they do no wrong. And then this man who was a killer, killed his whole family, they're on the mainstream media talking about he was a good family man. Really? How's that? After he slaughtered them all. Okay? Even the pregnant wife. So please, just pay attention. These are the things they do. And so I'm just saying, why do black people still, some black people, not all of course, but why do some black people still help them and aid them by pushing their narratives and spewing their racist rhetoric? How do they look at themselves in the mirror? Especially these evil, devilish, white non-supremacists cloaked in blackface like Candace Owens, or shall I say Candace Owens, or Jason Hamhock Whitlock, right? How do they look at themselves? It's just so ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. But these are the things they do. So I would advise and encourage black women who are involved in these feminist groups to get out. They serve you no benefits. They are, in fact, to your detriment. And the longer you go around spewing the words, I'm a strong black woman, I don't need no man, clearly that is crazy. Okay? That is crazy. Yes, you do need a man, unless you don't plan to procreate, unless you don't want your children to have a father, and all of the above. That's just also crazy. Stop saying things that white people are telling you to say and instill it in your head when they themselves don't even live by it. They themselves don't even live by it. It's completely crazy. Central Park Karen charged now with racial profiling. Yes, she was. I broadcast about that last night, Ali. Yes, she absolutely was charged, and I'm glad. And she may get community service or jail time, although her attorney says that she won't be found guilty. Thank you, Derek, for your contribution. You are greatly appreciated. Read Urugo, Stolen Legacy and Destruction of Black Civilization. Clear view from then on. Aquita Seneb. Okay, thanks. I will certainly read that. I will look that up today. Thanks for the info. But yes, clearly, let me write that down. In fact, Urugu. Okay, yes. So anyway, with that all being said, these people are, out here brainwashing, using manipulative tactics, and some black people who just aren't, very witty, knowledgeable, and who are easily persuaded. They're just going along with it. Going along to get along. This is what a lot of our people are doing. Because for whatever reason, they feel that the white non-supremacists are someone they should look up to. And ever notice how you can tell black people something and they won't believe anything you say? But you let a white person come on and say the same thing. Right? Now they suddenly believe it. Now it's facts. Urugu is great. Dr. Marimba Ani. Black people matter. Stay woke, black people. Exactly, Eris. Interesting that last week's episode of Black-ish dramatized the feminism discrepancy between black and white. Really? I'm going to have to catch that. Maybe I can catch it on demand because I clearly missed it. Check BBC documentary Secret Slave Owners. Thanks, Ali. BBC. Secret Slave Owners. Speaking of slave owners, let me tell you all this before I close out. There's a movie coming out, I believe it's called Cracker. Okay, spelled C-R-A-K-K-A. But it's supposed to be where the roles are reversed, and in fact, today is Blackout Day. Yes, that's right. Thanks for reminding us, Duel. Exactly. Today is Blackout, people. Okay? Don't go out here spending your money, making the oppressors wealthy. Don't refrain from buying anything that isn't a dire necessity. Okay? Black family, keep your firearm close. That's right. That's right. But this movie, I saw the trailer of it. I think it's called Cracker. And it's supposed to be where the roles are reversed and the black people actually enslave the white people. Okay, I can't wait to see this. But already, white people are saying it's racist. So a fictitious movie about them being enslaved is racist, but them actually enslaving our people isn't. How crazy is that, right? The irony. And they still haven't given us those reparations. But they want to talk about racism. Also, another thing to note is if you haven't seen the video of XXXTentacion, the song he did called Riots, before he was killed in July of 2018, he did a song called Riot, which is so good for the occasion with all the protests and everything that's been going on. But also, in the video, he shows a clip of a little white boy and a little black boy being taken to a stage, and then there's a noose. And so he whispers something to the little white kid, and you think that he's about to hang the black kid, right? But he actually puts the noose around the white kid's neck and strings him up. Now, this was done to be ironic, right? And to show a narrative, like to really show that when black people are lynched and hung and killed, nobody cares. Nobody has anything to say. But when it happens to white people, oh, everyone's in an uproar. And the reason this was so pivotal is because he really proved a good point. Because you see, when everyone saw the video, white people especially, when they saw the video and they thought the little black boy was going to be the one getting lynched, nobody said a word. But then when the white kid was the one that was actually lynched, oh, they were all over the internet talking about this is so racist. This is so racist. Yes, it is racist, isn't it? But that's what they do. And it's okay when they do it. Thank you, Spitting Fire, for your contribution. You are greatly appreciated. Peace and blessings to you. From my channel to yours, keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Yes, so now it's racist. You see how when the tables are turned and the roles are reversed, they want to then flip the script? This is what they do, people, okay? Pay attention. What's good for the goose is never good for the gander as far as they're concerned. They don't care if they can dish it out. And here's another thing too. Pay attention to this. Like I told you, it's always so good when they get to enact their Second Amendment rights. They so love the Constitution, right? They love the Constitution. They will fight for it and die for it. But the minute black people start upholding their constitutional rights, they have a problem all of a sudden. That's when it starts becoming a problem. So clearly, they don't want us to have any rights, and then they love to throw in our faces, well, you got civil rights. This is what they'll say, some of them. Well, you got civil rights. Okay, but guess what? At the end of the day, the civil rights that our ancestors fought for benefit them more so than even us. And this is a fact, right? And let's not forget that the Democrats have come up with a notion that they'll give black people reparations, but they're going to also, at the same time, if they do, give it to the natives. The natives have clearly been getting reparations forever, okay? They've already gotten reparations. That's why they all own all the casinos and all the land and the reservations, right? And they get reparations every year, just like the Orthodox community. Yes, they do. But here's the sneaky trick. Here's the trick, people. These natives that they speak of, many of them are $5 Indians, the descendants of the $5 Indians, which means, in fact, they have European bloodlines, okay? They're not real natives, as we know, right? We know how they paid the $5 to get their name on the Dow's Roll. We know this. So they're clearly not real natives. But here's the thing. Not only with the fake natives, right? Now, some of them are real, but many of them are not. But my point is, the fake natives will get paid reparations that belong to us when they, in fact, owned slaves. They owned slaves. And it's so funny when we talk about natives, our ancestral natives, and then white people say, well, they owned slaves too. Yes, they did. It was the fake natives, not the real ones. It was their ancestors who owned the slaves. That's how we should have known they were whites, okay? Please. Right? Still trying to figure out how to give them something that belongs to us. Also, let's not forget, just a year or so ago, when they gave out these government grants for like $300,000 for contractors of native descent, a lot of white people went down there lying, talking about, oh, I'm 3% native. Oh, I'm 1/3 native. Oh, my great-great-grandfather was Cherokee. These are the things they do. They always find a way to get their sneaky little devilish hands on resources that don't belong to them. Okay? This is what they do. Tell us, Queen. Take us back to Black history. Yes, absolutely. This is what they do. They always find a way to put themselves. And here's another thing. There was a white guy over in the UK who got $400,000 in scholarship money that was supposed to be for Africans. Now, this man was clearly white. But he starts talking about he has African ancestry and that his grandfather or somebody was African. And he was able to get that money. When they found out, they didn't do anything. They said, well, you know, he is part African. What? That money should have gone to a real African. But it's okay for them to steal from us. Now, let me tell you something on the flip side, right? If I was to go to apply for a scholarship or grant that was for white people, and I sign up and fill out everything or whatever and send it in, and then I'm granted the scholarship, and then they find out later, they see me later, and they say, wait a minute, oh, no, this is fraud. You're black. And I said, well, no. You see, my great-great-grandmother was white. So I am 1/4 white. You think they're going to go for that BS? Please. Clearly they're not. But it's funny that they get to do it to us whenever they see fit. They steal our resources, okay? They get paid more than us on jobs starting out. I'm just saying, these are some of the wicked things they do. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close out on that note, people. Also, in case you didn't know, Peace in this puzzle is laughing. Listen, also in case you didn't know, the Chinese people have packed up their bags and left Kenya. Now, I find that so funny because here's the thing. They came over there to steal the resources and deplete all the resources they could, you know, to start building their own infrastructure, to take over, and then to, in fact, be racist devils to the Africans who live there. Okay? Who the land, in fact, belongs to. This is what they came over there for, right? To colonize and completely take over. Meanwhile, treating the Africans like crap over in their country, putting them out on the streets, you know, saying that they're the ones who spread the virus, when clearly we all know where it came from. But anyway, I digress. But the Chinese people from Kenya have left the continent of Africa. They got permission to have a plane fly in to take them back from whence they came, and I hope the Africans never let them back in Kenya again. But let me tell you why they left, people. Let me tell you why they left. They left because they say Kenya didn't have adequate health care facilities for the treatment of the virus. And they felt like they were putting their own lives at risk by staying there. So they wanted to leave. Okay? This is what they said. They wanted to leave. So I'm glad they're gone, and I hope they don't return, and I hope the rest of them leave Africa and go back from whence they came as well, because the nerve, audacity, and gall of any of them to go over to the motherland and try to be racist to people who are the indigenous people of the land. To try to have businesses they open up and tell black people, Nigerians, Kenyans, Ethiopians, that they cannot eat in their establishments? Who do they think they are? But then, meanwhile, when Africans go to China, they want to just run them off. Put them out on the streets. All kinds of stuff. Beat them, assault them, whatever, you name it. Wouldn't even allow a pregnant black woman into a hospital. Okay? These are the things they do. Devils. Yes, they are nothing more than honorary white non-supremacists. But sadly, some black people are still fattening their pockets for them when the Asians clearly don't like us, okay? They have no love for us. The only thing they love is the money we give them. And I have told you time and time again, black people, we need to stop giving these wicked, devilish, racist demons our money. Their businesses would go in the red if it weren't for us. Let them go in the red. Stop buying Chinese food. Stop going to Korean beauty supply stores. Stop letting the Vietnamese do your nails. Okay? You can find black people to do the same thing. All you have to do is Google. You can find them. They're out there. Give your money to black-owned businesses. It's time to build black wealth. We need another Black Wall Street. Okay? Now, in fact, we're getting a black army created, up and running. Okay? Pretty soon, we'll have our own military. So we need to have black-owned businesses, black people supporting them, keeping our money in our community, not giving it to the people who are trying to get us taken off of the planet. Thank you so much, Take Zone, for your contribution. You are greatly appreciated. Peace and blessings to you. This is what we need to do, people. It's time to get on code. The devils are on code along with the demons, right? So we need to get on code as well. This is a must for our survival. Do you want your children and grandchildren to be here and be subjected to the same things that we had to endure? I think not. So it's time to wake up, smell the coffee, and do what we need to do as a people so we can be liberated, so we can be free, okay? Please, it's a must. Support black-owned businesses. And in fact, on my channel, starting tonight, I am going to be shouting out a black business every night at least once a week when I go live. Okay? Once a week when I go live, I'm going to shout out, emphasize one black business. All right? That's what I'm going to do. We're going to focus on that. Okay? So, with that all being said, family, I'm going to go ahead and close out this live. I bid you all adieu. I wish you peace, love, and prosperity. I hope that you enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. And until next time, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.